Thanks so much for watching our show. We really appreciate the support. It costs a lot to produce, so we're asking for donations and pledges here on Patreon. Thanks again. Welcome to See It and Feel It with Dr. Brett. And I'm Dr. Brett, and I'm here today with Sean Matta, all-around great guy I've known feels like forever. He was originally an EMT. He's now a paramedic fireman. He also has done jiu-jitsu on and off for years, right? How long has it been you've been doing the jiu-jitsu thing?
Jiu-jitsu has been 6 years now.
Wow. How'd you get into jiu-jitsu? How'd you start that, path? Because not everybody does jiu-jitsu on the planet.
Yeah. So my cousin, who years ago he started doing it, he was in the Navy at the time, and a lot of guys he was training with did jiu-jitsu. So he was telling me about it, and I found there's a gym the first gym I went to is the one I stuck with in Danbury, Connecticut, with my coach Luigi Mondelli. I started that was 6 years ago. So yeah, that's how I got into it. And once I started, I didn't know idea what it was, but I got in and I got hooked.
So you just trusted your cousin? Your cousin was just raving about jiu-jitsu? Is that it?
Yeah, well, when I was younger, I did some martial arts that was, I don't know what it's called. It was like some taekwondo, little kid karate stuff.
Yeah, totally.
And then, I heard a lot about, watching the UFC, and then, the stuff on the ground is the jiu-jitsu. And my cousin doing it because he used to box too, but he said the jiu-jitsu is beneficial because you don't get hit in the head often. If you do, it's an accident.
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's totally true. By the way, I would imagine, though, you've been hit in the head a few times.
Yeah, I've had an extensive lifetime of concussions. So long and
Have you ever,
yeah.
been hit doing jiu-jitsu, even though it's something that doesn't happen that often?
Yeah, it's true. It's a grappling sport, but I've taken a few accidental knees or elbows to the head, and I've had a few bigger guys drive me into the ground, and it doesn't feel awesome, but it's rare.
Yeah,
It's not like
that
boxing.
feeling, that concussion feeling, like, when I was a kid, they didn't really, we got dropped on our head or hit in the head with a baseball, whatever it was, and nobody really talked about it or did anything about it. Now, like, it's a lot safer, the world, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you at least get like a few days off or whatever when you get dinged?
Yeah, no. Well, I haven't had a concussion since I was a ski bum. So, and back then it was the same time I was an idiot, and I would just keep skiing anyways with a headache.
Yeah.
So,
has the jiu-jitsu and the grappling, how's it changed your life in the past 6 years?
It's irrevocably. My life is different because of it. I started training jiu-jitsu around the same time I got hired as a fireman, and it was it's incredible because for me, it's a fun sport, self-defense that's effective, but also, you just get crushed. I'll tell you, my first training class I went in, my coach Luigi, he showed me a couple moves, and then he paired me up with this guy at the time I was 200 pounds. He paired me with an older guy who was like 58 and weighed 130 pounds.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, and that
you
guy
got this guy, and he kicked
wiped
your
the
butt.
floor with me for 5 minutes straight, and there's nothing I could do. Everything I did was wrong. It was like whatever my initial thought was wrong, and he would just choke me or break my arm if I didn't tap.
Wow.
So then for me, that was it. I was hooked. I needed to know everything about it. So I trained 4 or 5 days a week back then because it was, pre-COVID. I trained 4 or 5 days a week. I was obsessed with it on the internet, checking any video I could, talking to my coach or other higher belts, And then we talked earlier, I have bad ADD, and the
I know that.
yeah, you know that, but now the internet knows it.
Now everybody knows that. Well, everybody that follows us anyway.
But the great thing about what that helps with, I found, in the fire academy helped me too. If I get a blowout workout, like if I blow the wheels off it, like sweating, drenched, tired, feel like I get hit by a truck, it kind of aligns my brain and gets rid of a lot of the distractions. So what jiu-jitsu does is it does that. It's an incredible workout. It's crazy hard. And then afterwards, I feel normal. I can walk around. I can plan my day a bit better. I'm less scatterbrained, and I
That's
had a blast
awesome.
doing
I
it.
love it. Yeah, no, there's
Yeah.
no substitute for intense exercise, but it sounds like jujitsu takes it to another level, right? How similar
Hmm.
is it to wrestling? We wrestled a lot as kids, not in terms of
Very.
just because I'm an identical twin more than anything. We used to choke each other halfway
Yeah,
out anyway, just as
that's what it is.
twins,
So
right?
that's exactly what it is. It's that. It is wrestling. So but like if you go on the sport, the wrestling is the goal is to pin your opponent. In jujitsu, the goal is to kill your opponent. You want to choke them out or get them to submit. So
Got it.
it's grappling. Uh, advantage with underhooks. Legs takedowns, lots of that stuff.
Mm. Now, have you been, choked out before or just mostly submitted?
I've been choked out twice.
What
Uh,
what was that like when you get I haven't I've been choked a million times, but I don't think I've been choked out. So like what's that like?
it's
Is
not
there
it's not the goal. You don't want to do it.
No,
Both
I'm
times.
aware of that.
It feels like it's actually honestly it's refreshing because the first time it happened was
Refreshing. Please explain that to our audience. Refreshing to get
it's almost
choked
like
out.
someone hits the reset button on your brain and then you kind of come to and you each time I thought I was in my bed and I was like, why are all these people in my I couldn't figure out
Were
why
you
everyone's in my room.
were
And then
you
it kind
saying
of
mommy? What were you saying? Like when
thank
you
God thank God I went to the bathroom beforehand because I've heard some people have accidents, but
Oh, really?
but it's
So
like
it's
I didn't, but it feels like everything reset. Like I woke up and I was like, why are these people in my room? I'm like, oh, I'm in class. Oh God, I went out. And then it's embarrassing. And then, everyone just kind of laughs. But it's harmless.
totally.
Yeah, it's harmless.
Well, has anybody ever died being choked out? I mean, I imagine that's probably
I'm
happened.
sure, but not that I
Yeah.
know of.
So you're
Yeah, not
saying
that I
it's
know.
harmless in the sense that, I mean, obviously the minute you pass out, they're stopping, right? I
Everyone
mean,
stop.
minute
Yeah,
being second, right? Because
right. And
sometimes when,
this,
I used to watch a fair amount of MMA and I'm so busy and I don't watch that much anymore, but I always hated it when the refs allowed those extra few punches to the head or something, while the
right.
guy is like pretty much
Getting,
out, right?
right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and with the women, I noticed they don't really, they get in there a lot sooner, right? That
Right.
seems
Yeah.
to be,
Yeah.
but I just don't like that, the potential brain damage that seems to
Yeah.
occur.
No,
But
so
jujitsu in general a lot safer, right, than the MMA
yeah.
striking. What's that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's in the way I do it, there's no striking. We just do sport jujitsu, which is grappling. Going for points. The only time you get hit is accidental. Um, but then but the other addition to it is it has self defense applications. You can
Totally.
he does my coach will do classes. They're called combatives classes where you will set up
Mhm.
scenarios where someone will attack someone else and you defend them. You'll work on some striking, but the main thing is um, it's not jujitsu, right? That's what he tells you. He goes, if you're in a fight, you're going to fight. The reason for that is it's not fun. We're not playing with our friends. So he
Right.
just shows you
Although the
times.
jujitsu sounds like you could probably, take
Oh,
someone out, right, in a fight where
definitely,
you don't necessarily always have to punch them, right? You can just,
exactly.
take
Hold
them
them down
down,
and wait till the
right?
cops get there.
And
Yeah.
then, and then exactly.
And at work, I've used it a couple times. I've had
Well, I was going to
some.
ask that next. That's exactly
Yeah,
what I was going to ask.
yeah. I had just recently, last summer, we had a gentleman who was I forgot what the call was for. It was I think he had abdominal pain, but he was a schizophrenic, paranoid schizophrenic, lots of issues. And as soon as I walked in the room, he stood up and just came right at me. And
And then you just did your
I
thing.
was able to grab. Luckily, he was wearing a jacket, so I just grabbed the coat, brought it to the ground, and it was over. Like no one got hurt. No one. He punched me once, but the guy was like 50. It didn't hurt, but it was good because I had his control over the whole thing. I immediately called my coach afterwards. I told him, I was like, dude.
Now, did your coach ask you why you let yourself get punched?
Well, then, yeah, we went over that in combatives. He goes, now you want to step to the, yeah, we
Totally. It's like, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Did you not see the punch coming? Like you didn't see it coming?
No, I didn't know what was happening. I knew he was coming up and I knew it was a weird, it was threatening-ish, but it wasn't, he didn't say anything. He didn't do anything. And next thing I knew it was a nothing punch. It
Right. No, totally.
didn't register.
Yeah.
But
That's
you
right.
know, like
Has
someone
it?
who wasn't trained it might have gone worse. You know, they might have
Yeah, it
hurt
sounds
the
like
guy.
though maybe it's also made you more poised in general, right? All this 6 years of jujitsu training, right?
Yeah. And I want to specify for anyone watching, I'm an enthusiast. I'm not a
You're
big
not a pro. You're going to
competition
get
guy.
your
I'm
ass
not a
kicked by
pro.
another 135 pounder, right?
No, no,
that
no.
really.
Well, a competition-minded person will probably smoke me, but you know,
Say
any guy
again,
on the
what's
street,
that?
someone who trains harder than I do will you know, there's younger guys, professional guys who, you know, I'm just an enthusiast. I love it. It's just my
No, that's
hobby.
awesome. Have you ever, just out of curiosity, have you ever choked anybody out? Have you done that to someone else?
No, they tapped. No one has. I've never asked. Oh, well, yeah, one guy. We had a new guy who came in who had a bit of an ego problem, and he wouldn't tap, so I just put him out, and it was.
Wow.
But
So if the
that was once.
ego, so you didn't feel bad about that at all, right? Because he's had a bit
No,
of an ego problem, right?
right, and because here's a great example. He wouldn't. I had him in an arm lock, which he wouldn't tap to. But I also don't want to, on my conscious, to break anything. So I
Mm.
let go of the arm lock and I put him in a choke and put him out.
Yeah,
And I told
totally.
him, I was like, you should tap, and he didn't tap, and he went out. So.
Yeah. What's the most common injury that people that train in jujitsu tend to have?
Joints, shoulders mainly, and elbows. You know, if
Shoulders and elbows?
you get caught up in a lock for a while, and or you fall wrong, it's not easy on the body. You know, it's
How much,
but it's
how many more years you got in you? Is this, what I mean?
till I'm dead, until I can't do it.
That's
I'm in,
awesome.
I'm in for life.
That's fantastic. Have you seen like 70 and 80-year-olds do jujitsu?
Yeah, not 80. Yeah, there's some of the legends, the guys, just the Gracie family. They've been doing it. The originators, they're in their they died in their 90s, but they would roll around. But you know, you modify, right? Like when I get in my 60s, I'm not going to be going as hard as I am now with a 20-year-old. Hopefully, I have
No, for sure.
so. But
Yeah.
I plan on doing it for the rest of my life, as
Now,
long as I
yeah,
can.
that's awesome. I love it. Now, do all the MMA guys train in jujitsu? Do they all do that, or they do?
I can't
What's
wrestling or
that?
I think everyone does everything now. Yeah,
Yeah,
the wrestling, kickboxing, jujitsu. You have to
yeah.
have some, otherwise you're just gonna get.
And what's the main distinction there between jujitsu and wrestling? Other than the choking
I'm,
part and
I'm
the
not an
not
expert on
pinning the
wrestling.
person. What's that?
Uh, I'm not an expert on wrestling, but I believe the main thing, they're all grappling sports, but
Right.
jujitsu focuses on the submission, where I believe wrestling focuses on staying up or taking someone down.
Yeah.
So, like a wrestler will take me down at will. They'll just whatever they want to do to me, they can get me to the ground. You know, but I hopefully will have a better game on the ground with my submissions than they will if they've
Got
only
it.
done wrestling.
Yeah, so that's why the MMA guys have to do both, right? They need to be able to, and then they need their takedown defense as well,
Yep.
right? So
Yes.
really, really interesting.
Hmm.
How's your wife feel about your jujitsu training and your, minor
She loves it, and
sideways
she's sick
career?
of. She's
What?
sick of hearing. She's sick of hearing about it all the time. I think, but she
Oh,
loves
you're
it.
in
She's
love with it that much? It's like
uh,
that's your
come on.
thing.
Yeah, I always either steer the conversation into that or firefighting. One of the two, you know. And now that I'm out on injury, it's just all I'm doing is watching videos.
You
So.
don't try like, 10 or 15 hardcore minutes of listening to her first before you steer it into
Oh, we do that.
firefighting.
I think we've talked about. I listen to her work problems for a good 25, 30 minutes, and then I'll. And then, yeah,
Have you practiced the it seems like, it sounds like, it feels like? Remember
I
we were
have.
talking about some of the
Yeah,
communication skills training?
yeah, and well, in a yeah, with a wife, we've done a lot of that. It seems like, sounds like, feels like.
Yeah, totally. And then,
Yeah,
it seems like the work is like really, really stressful as you slide into paramedic, into fireman stuff, right?
yeah,
What's
or
it just,
yeah.
what is how much does the being a paramedic bring to being a fireman? What percentage of the force is both like you and,
So, as far as firefighting go, first responder firefighters, the way it usually works is if most towns that have a paid service will require you to, at minimum, be an emergency I'm sorry, I forgot what the name, but it's like basic first aid stuff. And then
Mm,
some towns will require you to be an EMT, emergency medical technician.
mhm,
So that's so the towns that don't require EMT, the pool, you'll say there's 7 vacancies, and you'll have 8,000 people who are eligible to apply for that job. So then you go to a town that requires an EMT, and that pool will go from 8,000 to maybe 500-600. And
mm.
then paramedic, which is the highest level of emergency responder, um, like when I took my test, I think there was 40 of us that were eligible for the position. So if you're looking to become a firefighter and you're a paramedic, it really opens up doors for you. So
Thanks for watching See It and Feel It with Dr. Brett, and stay tuned for part 2 of this interview. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with a friend.